Good evening. I'm First to Know meteorologist Riley Winch, and we have a hurricane to talk about in June out in the open waters of the Atlantic. The farthest east storm we've seen form in the open waters of the Atlantic in the month of June. So it's already breaking some records out there, and it has sustained winds of 80 miles per hour as it continues to turn to the west. And we are moving into a more favorable environment for development for the storm, a little bit more moisture and low wind shear, and that is all helping to allow this storm to strengthen. And over the next couple of days, we are going to see it strengthen quite a bit as it heads towards the Windward Islands and the island of Barbados out there. Very warm waters with moderately dry air and limited shear will allow this to continue to strengthen over the next couple of days here with that high pressure system off to the north, directing it towards the due west. And we see these highs playing into this storm as we get towards Monday. That's when it starts to impact places like Barbados, the Windward Islands, and it continues to move westward into the Caribbean through the middle part of the week. So the entire Caribbean Sea should be watching out for this system, with another tropical disturbance behind that we're tracking for the chance of development as well. But we have Tropical Storm Beryl, or I should say Hurricane Beryl now, expected to become a major hurricane by the time it impacts islands like Barbados, the Windward Islands. We have some hurricane watches and hurricane warnings up for those islands now. Category 3 hurricane with winds of 115 to 120 mile per hour sustained winds as we head towards that Monday morning, Monday afternoon time frame. And then it continues westward into the open waters of the Caribbean, potentially impacting islands like Hispaniola towards Cuba, Jamaica by the time we get towards the middle of next week. But at that point, it starts to encounter a little bit of wind shear, which will help to weaken it as it moves towards the western Gulf of Mexico. But we still have, or I should say, the western Caribbean Sea, eventually possibly into the Gulf of Mexico. We'll just have to see how intense this storm will be at that time. For mainland U.S. impacts, that storm is over a week away from any impacts that could happen to our local area, but it's still far too soon to say if there will be any impacts at all for us here in the Big Bend in South Georgia. But elsewhere in the tropics, we're tracking two other systems with a chance of development. A 50% shot will have tropical development in the Bay of Campeche over the next 48 hours. That system will move into Mexico. No local threats from that. But then behind Beryl, we're tracking another tropical system that has a 30% chance of developing over the next 48 hours. And that system is just off of the coast of Africa right now, moving towards the west, following a similar track to Beryl, at least for the next couple of days. A 70% chance of development for that over the next 7 days. So a quick look at our names list. We have Chris and Debbie, the next names up. So we'll see which systems get named and which ones don't. But Beryl is the one we're tracking, and we're going to hear quite a bit about over the next week. Stay tuned here to First to Know Weather for any updates on this storm.